I have nothing negative to say about either of those teams. I hate the Raiders. F them. You know, the stupid Raider chant drives me crazy whenever we play in Vegas. It's one of the dumbest, most ignorant-sounding things I've ever heard in my life. And I don't...
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, and you hear Pete, because I'm sure Pete feels the same way. Like, oh, my God.
Hey-o, welcome to Heed the Call. Heed in the Call. Hump Day. Dan Hanzus. Marc Sessler. I like this one, Mark, because the AFC West is a spicy division, perhaps the spiciest. Is it the best division in football? I mean, maybe the NFC North lays claim to that. Maybe the NFC West has a bounce back year. I don't know. But the AFC West has, I feel like pound for pound, is the spiciest. Little triple red pepper. So we're going to get into that with two very, very qualified guests in Matt Money Smith and Pete Sweeney.
I think with the AFC West, teams have changed pretty rapidly since last season, a number of them. And so you look at all four teams in that division and say, I can make a case they could be a postseason team. And to have Pete and Matt Money on today, I mean, these are friends of the show, and these are pros.
Absolutely, Mark. Absolutely. How are you, by the way?
I'm doing fine.
Yeah?
I'm doing fine. I was alerted that the show was beginning a little bit earlier than I planned today, or our day was, and I took what was, you ever do this? I took like a 40-second shower, and then rapidly, I tried to look like I maybe prepared more than I was. And like from a physical angle, there's more clothing that needs to be added, some footwear at some point. But other than that, doing well, if that's what you were asking.
Sometimes you just throw something out there to the cess dog and just let him go. Let him go. All right. Well, if you have to take another shower after the show, you will have that option. But that's something to think about during the program today. All right. Yeah. We're going to have a nice conversation about that division and a beefy one. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. Before we do that, there's some news to hit. So let's do it.
That time, it was out of Tamawa, out of Barre, as Indianapolis now officially leads the NFL in impossible names to say.
See, I thought that was like the investigative reporter of like the Fort Wayne local television station. So you give him a little pass for not knowing how to pronounce the names. But that's Jerry Sandusky of Ravens Radio. But that is a challenge, I would imagine, if it's not your team and you have a opposition rolling in. We have money coming on. Maybe we'll ask him about this. It's got to be tough when you got a lot of those different sounding names and the ones that are not phonetically right there for you.
We deal with this all the time.
Sandusky gets a pass in this case.
He does. We deal with this all the time, and what we tend to do is you just go first name, or you create a nickname to look creative. Jerry Sandusky, tough name for a number of years there. If you recall the events at Penn State, that wasn't a great name to be rolling around with on a public platform.
Yes. I know, Mark. Let's give Sandusky a break. He had to deal with that for a long time.
Yeah,
the good Sandusky, not the bad one. The example of this, prominent example, we love talking about Francesa on this show. Mike Francesa, I remember he did like an interview with Simmons like about 3 or 4 years ago. And I actually struggle with his name. Graver, you're a real ball knower in the NBA. Who is the great center for the Milwaukee Bucks? His full name?
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yes. So Francesa clearly could not attempt what Graver just nailed. So he's talking to Simmons. He goes, "Yeah, that Greek freak. I'll tell you what, though, the Greek freak." And then you use the nickname once, and I guess it is his nickname. I just call him Giannis or whatever. But like he kept. I don't think he knew how to say the first name either. So he said, "Yeah, but Bill, Greek freak." Greek freak was said 14 times over the course of the 5-minute conversation.
Really circumventing the issue there, yeah.
Is Giannis a center? Sorry, that's neither here nor there, my bad.
Jesus Christ, Justin. All right, power forward / center.
Take it to the Titans podcast, please.
Exactly, yeah. Derail your own show. All right, let's get into it. Packers, a little bit of bad news, but could be worse. Jordan Love, this is the biggest thing you worry about. You're just trying to get your key players in preseason games long enough to knock off the rust and feel comfortable, and you can't get them out of there without an injury. So the Packers and Jets played over the weekend, and Love banged up the thumb on his left hand, an injury that was causing him discomfort and trouble gripping the ball in practice. So they decide he should undergo a procedure to deal with a ligament issue on that left thumb. The team is confident Love will return to practice next week, and the Packers expect him to be ready for the regular season opener. So, that could have been worse, Mark, but could have been better. And that's a very, again, we've talked about it. That's another very fierce division with a lot of good teams. Now you got your QB1 that's going to be playing from behind a little bit. Not the best news, but could have been worse.
They've also got Christian Watson with a knee injury right now, expected to begin the season, the PUP. I would say one thing about the Packers, because I'm the guy that put them, I think, third in my power rankings, which...
old Sessler kiss of death. What
yeah,
could
like
go
I think
wrong?
I jarred you guys with my my suggestion that they would be that. But of all those teams that you think are playoff teams, and it's just one preseason game, they looked terrible against the Jets. They did not play well. That was a drifting, strange game. And now you've got Jordan Love banged up.
Why'd you do it, Mark? Why'd you do it? Those are good people in Wisconsin, despite some comments that Connor made recently that the DUI and domestic violence rates are higher or something. That's not true. These are good Midwestern people who love the Packers, and now you put this on them.
It was not to snow them under or to cause them pain by any chance. If anything, I think I've been dogged for over 10 years for being too down on the Packers by our listenership.
Yeah, but you could one could sniff that one out and be like, maybe Sessdog knows that his powers to whammy a team, he uses them for evil now, and that's exactly why you put them high in the power rankings, because you knew what would happen.
I get where you're coming from here. I think it more comes down to if we were to pick the team of heed the call, that's a team that's a fan base that needs to be concerned if I'm involved in that process. Am I right? Okay. That's a little more trenchant.
Well, I think when it's coming just from Mark, that's the real whammy.
Yeah, well, I did it to the Titans once too. Remember that, Justin?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I do. And I think, Dan, to your point, I think Mark has to genuinely be feeling good about that team for the power of the curse to take hold. He can't fake it, because then there won't be any curse.
Well, it's not a power that I asked for.
Sorry, Packers fans. In other news, Bills running back James Cook has agreed to a 4-year, $48 million contract extension, $12 million per year if you do the basic division, 30 of that guaranteed. Ends what was... maybe I was going to say maybe we get some juice into Hard Knocks after that underwhelming first episode. In fact, they already aired the second episode. I got to catch up. Was the second episode anymore? Give us anything more in terms, did anybody check it out yet? I don't know.
First episode was so boring, I said, I'm not watching number 2.
Yeah, it's not on my radar this time. It's not.
Yeah, it's off my radar a little bit, but I was also busy. It was my son's birthday. I was at Benihana. What a show they put on at Benihana. I'll tell you what. I mean, you want to get some Japanese cuisine done with a little bit of panache?
They're cooking it right in front of.
They're not even a sponsor of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, he did this egg trick that just blew all of our minds, and
that's kind of thing that young, if you have young sons, they're going to freak out over that. So nice job by you to make that the birthday locale.
Oh, hi, smoking onion volcano. Nice to meet you. Stupid. Anyway, I will check out episode 2 of Hard Knocks because I am loyal to the brand, but it will be wavering if this doesn't go where we want it to go. But anyway, Cook wanted the money. Now he's got the money, so one less distraction. At Bills camp, this one's a little spicy, Sassy. Nevada Supreme Court sides with Jon Gruden, brother of Jay Gruden, the founder of the Gruden, which is a 5-count Tito's with a seltzer water and then an orange slice for those following. Anyway, the Nevada Supreme Court sides with Jon Gruden in case versus NFL blocking arbitration. Gruden, as you may recall, sued the NFL and Roger Goodell in November of 2021 after he resigned as coach of the Raiders, a decision he made after racist, homophobic, and sexist emails, the big three, the old hat trick from Gruden, in an email server, emerged from an investigation into the NFL's Washington franchise. In the suit, I'm just going to spin through this, Mark, and I want to get your thoughts on it. In this suit, Gruden accused the NFL of leaking those emails through a malicious and, quote, orchestrated campaign, saying that the NFL and Goodell sought to destroy the career and reputation of Gruden. And now Gruden has a chance for this. And I always, Mark, follow, I check in with Mike Florio, who lives for this shit. And he's obviously comes from a law background to like make it make sense to a law dummy like myself, or just an all-around dummy. And he said, like, this elevates it to something exactly the NFL hates to do. When things go to arbitration, they go behind closed doors, and it's a controlled situation. The fact that it's snuck out of the Nevada Supreme Court sided with Gruden means this is a public situation. And Jon Gruden is exactly the type of guy, a renegade type dude that might have nothing to lose, where it becomes a public case that can be very ugly for the NFL. And that's why Jon Gruden should keep his head on a goddamn swivel in the ramp up to this trial. That's all I'll say. Yeah,
I mean, I think there's two things that can be true here. Like, one, he sent some pretty crazy emails. And, tis for that. I don't downplay that. But then this was attached to an investigation about the Washington franchise. And like nothing came of that for a very long time. And they elevated these Gruden emails into like kind of a headline, and it ended his career. I mean, it ended his career. He had like a 10-year contract with the Raiders that came to a close because of this. I know that when covering football in general, because like when you get into football, you realize, wait, there's a lot more math than one would be hoping for at times. And then also when I see like a headline in our news rundown and it's about the Nevada Supreme Court, I'm like, run in the other direction. I don't know. I don't do Supreme Court things, but this is a tangibly thorny case for the NFL to deal with. We'll see what happens. I like Jon Gruden.
Don't do Supreme Court things.
Well, I run in the other direction because I know it's, to your point, it's like when it comes to deep legal stuff, it's like, I'm not deep legal. I'll sit here.
You're illegal. Ow!
Yeah, a little bit more of that.
The bad boy. All right. This is not something that I'm happy about, Mark, because we want good things to happen to our teams. But Browns quarterback Shedeur Sanders injured an oblique. That's like the rib cage area. That's not good. Throwing the football on Wednesday morning in practice. According to the team, he was held out of the first of joint practices with the Eagles. Kevin Stefanski, Browns coach, told Sal Powell still doing it for ESPN after practice that Sanders suffered oblique discomfort during warmups, and the plan for Sanders to practice was scrapped last minute. There's an MRI coming up, so we're going to know where that comes. Obviously, the timing isn't great, Mark, for obvious reasons. Most of all, he's coming off a quality debut, and instead of gearing up for a second preseason appearance where he could really, continue to mold thoughts around where he fits in the hierarchy there with all those quarterbacks, he might miss the game, and missing time could be the death knell to his momentum here.
I don't think it will change anything about this year's experience with Shedeur Sanders, in the sense that I think from ownership especially, they want... It is, you look at Cleveland's schedule, it is a nightmare. It is very possible that multiple quarterbacks are starting, and I think it is an absolute steadfast rule from the top down that we are going to see Shedeur Sanders start this year, to find out what you have before they go into a draft where they have 2 first-round picks. I don't think he would have played a ton in this game to begin with, because I think they want to see Dylan Gabriel too. So I wondered just how much time he'd get. But yeah, an injury is annoying. It just sets back, because he's not... The one thing about Shedeur is he's not gotten a lot of first-team reps. He's been practicing with like guys on the sideline. And so it's just like less NFL snap and exposure time. But I don't know. In that game, he looked to me like that didn't matter that much. But yeah, I don't like it because like every news item about the Browns in this summer has been relatively negative. And there's more to that too.
Along those lines, in other Browns news, Myles Garrett cited at 2:01 a.m. Saturday for going 100 miles per hour in a 60 mile per hour zone in Strongsville after the team landed from Charlotte after their preseason game. Of course, Garrett was in a serious car accident a few years ago after he flipped his Porsche. Here's what Stefanski said on Wednesday at practice.
Extremely disappointing. It's been addressed with Myles, with the football team. He needs to slow down for his safety and the safety of others.
All right, and yes, that's now Shedeur Sanders, who we just talked about, had multiple speeding tickets before that, and I think we have to go ahead, Justin.
Good afternoon, and thank you for holding. I have Marc Sessler on the line from Quiet Storm Crisis Management. We're patching Marc through right now.
Yeah, hello. Let me just jump in here. I'm Mark's assistant. Thank you for everyone joining us today. Before Mark hops on, please be advised that Mark will address this Garrett speeding ticket, but Mr. Sessler is also available for any questions about Shedeur Sanders' game against the Panthers and where it sits in the conversation of greatest athletic achievements in American history. Okay, looks like Mark has just jumped on. Okay, I'll get out of the way now.
Hi, everyone. I think when it comes to this particular case and the kind of person and player that Myles Garrett is, we understand that Myles Garrett has had, I think it's 5 or 6 or 7 occurrences of driving at alarming speeds. Now, here's the thing. He's prompt. He likes to get to places on time. I'm going to leave it right there. We love him because he's not going to show up late to things. And whatever it takes to get there on time, that's what Myles Garrett will do. Thank you, everyone.
All right, well done. Well done. Injury run through. The Vikings wide receiver Rondell Moore. That man he'll kill. He'll die to be on time, that man. Vikings wide receiver Rondell Moore will miss a second straight season after hurting his knee in his comeback attempt right in the beginning of the Vikings preseason opener. The Texans are placing tight end Brevin Jordan on injured reserve, ending his season. Knee injury suffered on Monday's practice. Saints center Will Clapp suffered a season-ending foot injury that requires surgery. It's a brutal game, folks. Brutal game. Jets quarterback Tyrod Taylor underwent a scope on his knee. He's out for the rest of the preseason. They hope he'll be ready to back up Justin Fields week 1 against the Steelers. Also, Alan Lazard will miss a, quote, couple of weeks, according to Aaron Glenn, with a shoulder injury. Jets don't have a lot of depth at wide receiver, even if Lazard isn't the dude. Eagles guard Landon Dickerson, here's good news. He avoided a major injury to his knee, but the plan is for him to get a trim of his meniscus. They hope he'll be able to return early in the 2025 season, maybe even by week 1. But that is obviously the optimistic viewpoint on that. Eagles guard Kenyon Green, they was picked up in an offseason trade, shoulder injury. That will end his preseason. We'll see how long he is out. Chop Robinson, Dolphins edge, carded Wednesday, but he said on Instagram, "I'm good, nothing serious." That's nice to hear. And finally, time for a little Immortal Watch 25, Mark.
Let's go.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Matthew Stafford is in the tube, the silver tube, the reflective silver tube, sitting on the Rams facility, but he's still not practicing.
I mean, at what stage do we start to become very concerned about this position for the Rams?
I'm way more concerned about Matthew Stafford than the quarterback position at this point. It's bigger than the who's QB1 now. I mean, this is a mortal corp we're talking about. You trust them, buddy? You don't seem like somebody who would trust a potentially evil corporation.
The one thing about calling it amortal is like all I can think of is the other word immortal, and it's an annoyance to me.
Also, amoral.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think it makes you think of it, immoral, amoral. I don't know what. Again, I don't know. I want to see the layout of this craft that they have him sitting in. What's happening inside? I'd like to know more about that. It's all very Rams-ish.
Yeah. Anyway, we're keeping an eye on that one for you.
Yes, we are.
All right, that's what's happening in the news. We will be right back to dig into the state of the AFC West, pro football's most interesting division. Stay right there. Did you know that getting Heed the Call 3 times a week is just the beginning? If you want more, if you're a true hedonist, head over to patreon.com/heedthecall, where you can get all the Marc Sessler you could ever desire.
Maybe more than you need. I do have the Rolling Thunder show with Jason Zumwalt. We've got our Silver Horses newsletter, but it's not just me. You've got the Throwback Pod, Dan. We've got our Friday Fun show. You've got It Came From the Subreddit. There's just a cornucopia of incredible content.
Yes, a little teaser. I will be appearing on the next episode of Rolling Thunder, a topic that we will not tell you yet. But yes, another thing to look forward to. So patreon.com/heedthecall. Join the revolution, hedonists. All right, we're back. All right, Ceci. So the AFC. Interesting battleground here. And I'm looking at the divisions. Ceci.
Okay.
All right, we know the Bills are the Bills, right? The rest of the AFC East, from bad to grab bag, depending on the Patriots. The AFC North, we know we got the Ravens. Some people might talk themselves into the Steelers. We got Shek on the show tomorrow. I'm sure he might, but maybe not. We'll ask him about that. We'll see about the Bengals. But again, big question marks there. The South is the South and forever will be.
Well, you've left one team out of the North, but I understand why you did that.
Okay. But then there's the AFC West, and that's where it gets interesting. So we're going to have a couple guests on now that are going to deep dive on this very interesting division. And let us start with the man we must start with, one of the great raconteurs of the football cognoscente, Matt Money Smith. What's up, buddy?
God, what an intro. What an intro. The Zeuser, the Cess Dog. Listen, I got the Zeuser neon behind him. If I can get a little Cess Dog neon going, I'm going to feel really good about myself. All right? I'm going to feel I hear him call you Cessy, and it's just like a kick to my balls, Cess Dog. And I see it on the screen, and I'm like, I guess maybe he doesn't like the Cess Dog. Maybe all these years I've called him the Cess Dog. He's not a fan of it. So if that is the case, I apologize. Cessy it will be moving forward.
Well, no, it's very special. You actually once...
Cessy made it Sessler. I mean, how about that guy?
Sure.
Who is that guy?
That sound clip. But you once called me Cess Dog on NFL Network, on national TV. Yeah. So that's stuck in my conscience, and I enjoy it. Thank you.
That's right. And am I employed by NFL Network anymore? No.
Well, or any of
Probably
us.
Because of behavior like that, but whatever. That's where I hang my coat on that.
That guy's got a personality. Okay? Get him off the air.
Exactly right.
Yeah, Mark, just for the and we got to get to it. But
yes, I know. I'm sorry.
He's cool with Mark. As far as I know, he's cool with the Cess Dog, Cessy, Quiet Storm. Just don't call him Miark.
No, do not be going down that road.
Okay,
Miark. I will not do that. I don't know if my voice can even do that. I don't know if I can purse my lips enough to do Miark. Maybe I can.
Money doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give it to him anyway. He's an icon in the radio game, Petros and Money on 570 here in L.A. Also the voice of the Chargers. Ever hear of him? Yeah, that's who he is. Also the original voice of God for Around the NFL. So that should probably be the top bullet, I would say.
Yeah, in some circles.
Yeah, I want to get to, I want to ask you about your past career before all that, but let's get to that at the end of the conversation. Let's dive into the AFC West. Let's start with the Chargers, obviously. How do you feel about this team? They've had some injuries, obviously. They're coming off the buzz and excitement of the Jim Harbaugh era starting and getting double-digit wins, getting to the playoffs. Where would you put the anticipation level as the Chargers' voice compared to past seasons?
Yeah, I think it's every year with Harbaugh, it's at a 10, right? It has to be. It's the way the guy operates. And I think that's, why he ran himself into a little bit of trouble in Michigan is the second you roll up there, it's not, hey, beat Ohio State or win the Big Ten. It's win a national championship. And I think that's just the way it works with Harbaugh. I mean, the guy, goes to the NFC Championship game, 3 consecutive years, a Super Bowl, loses it, and somehow finds his way out of San Francisco. I think that's reality with him. So, yeah, expectations are high. We're going to find out who they are. You set it up perfectly, Dan, in context of this division in a hurry because we open in Brazil. They open in Brazil. I'll be there with them, hence the we, but they open in Brazil with the Chiefs. Week 2, Monday Night Football in Vegas, and Week 3 is the Broncos at home. There it is. Each of your AFC West opponents in the first 3 weeks, when you hope teams are as healthy as they could possibly be, to kind of give the rest of the country an idea of how good is this division and could it send 3 to the playoffs again.
Yeah, and we're talking about Harbaugh, and he's such a fire starter, and he gave an interview, and he's one of the best quotes really in the modern era of football. Here's a quote he gave to Rich Eisen in the offseason. And I don't want every Chargers conversation on our show just to focus on, is Justin Herbert elite? But when you have a guy like Harbaugh that's kind of like his main talking point, letting people know that's who this guy is, it kind of invites that discourse to the Chargers. Let's listen to Jimmy H.
I just woke up the other day and said, I got to get Justin Herbert to the Hall of Fame.
Oh.
Must get Justin Herbert to the Hall of Fame.
You woke up and said that?
Yeah. It's just one of those things where you wake up and kind of like 3:34 in the morning.
Right.
And sometimes that's when your best ideas come.
Yeah, I know.
And
I'm with you.
You kind of process that, and that would mean winning a couple Super Bowls, and there'd be a lot of people would benefit, from that. So that's a worthy goal, and I think it's necessary that we get him. Surrounded with as many good football players to his level as possible.
All right, Money. Have they done that? Because I look at what they did in the offseason. I believe, I don't know if this is still where it is, but it's got to be around there, that they have the most leftover cap space in the league. They invested obviously in the offensive line with Becton, although they've been thinned out obviously by the terrible Slater injury. They drafted the running back. They bring back Mike Williams, and then that goes off like a wet fart. Like, if the goal is to get Justin Herbert to play to the level that gets you a jacket in 15 years, do you think they've set him up for success?
Well, I mean, look, I think as far as that cap space went, a lot of it went to Slater and the, $90 million he got with the extension. And unfortunately, that went horribly wrong on an afternoon training camp session. And that's a huge hit that they're going to take. I think, $8 million just went to Keenan Allen. And I think the Chargers operate on a Baltimore, with Joe. It's not a coincidence that they look very similar, that Joe Ortiz spent 23 years in Baltimore, that Jim Harbaugh is the brother of John Harbaugh and has seen how consistently that team has performed and at least given themselves an opportunity, by punching their ticket to the postseason year in and year out. And I think they build it similarly. They're not going to go out and reach and scratch out, an $80 million check for Banks or a $60 million check for Will Fries and perennially injured, because he's later in his career. Ryan Carpenter, that's just not how they're going to operate. They're always going to go sort of shotgun approach, right? Let's go sign 4 corners. Let's sign 2 linebackers. Let's sign 4 defensive linemen and trust our coaches. And the one thing that they have on this team, I think that's really one, they have Justin Herbert, and he's special, like with the injury to Slater, as I'm trying to calm the masses through all of that. Which, and I'm not making light of it. It's a huge injury. They had a huge advantage over their competition because they didn't have to provide help to either of their tackles. They could put either Joe Alt or Rashawn Slater on an island and not have to worry about it. But now I think by shift, they do have the benefit of having an elite tackle in Joe Alt that you can now shift to left tackle and help on the right side. And that means just more, 12 or 13 personnel out there to help on that side. But Justin Herbert threw for almost 5,000 yards as a rookie and 32 touchdowns behind an offensive line of Sam Tevy, Forrest Lamp, Dan Feeney, Trey Turner, and Joe Barksdale. So that's how good he is. So I think what Coach is talking about is you have to just incrementally get better. He made, Jalen Guyton a 600-yard, 5-touchdown receiver. You saw what he was able to do with whatever was presented to him. Good season from Gerald Everett, from Jared Cook, no matter what tight end you drop. So I think that's what Coach is talking about. So while Tyler Conklin isn't necessarily, George Kittle or Travis Kelce, he's a big upgrade on what they had last year. And so I think that's the sort of stuff that happened this year. Omarion Hampton, that dude's legit. He is legit. He has got a trunk the size of an oak tree, and he's still explosive. And so that's a bell cow back that you have. Bringing in Mekhi Becton at right guard, and the idea was here's Mount Becton and Joe Alt, the biggest right side of an offensive line in football, so we can now run the ball and we can get play action to work and put that incredible accuracy plus a cannon for an arm to use and some downfield throws. Like, all this stuff was lined up for it to take a step, and unfortunately it's kind of unraveling a little bit because of this injury to Najee Harris, who's supposed to be their 4-minute drill back, because of this injury to Rashawn Slater, and that's just football. And if there's anyone I think can get over it, it's Coach Harbaugh, and in particular what I think is in the conversation is the best staff in football. The coaching staff here is incredible. I mean, it is really, really something.
I like the concept of you calming the masses over the Slater injury. That seems like a good role for you. I would ask you this, just like, I think there was this assumption, going back to last offseason, that it's a Harbaugh team. They just want to run the ball 700 times and Herbert's going to be, his production's going to go down. With Joe Ortiz and what kind of team do they actually want to be? Because I almost feel like it's become a talking point that may be more mythological than real, that they just want to run the ball more than any team in the AFC and be like a 1945 version of a pro football squad. Like, is that real, or is there something else that they're trying to build themselves into under Harbaugh?
Yeah, Sess, I think it is real. I think that's what they want their identity to be. I believe on both sides of the football, they want to punish teams. That's what Derwin James wants to do. That's what Denzel Perriman and Deion Henley want to do. That's what Tui Pelotu and Khalil Mack certainly want to do. So I think you have those players that's the type of football they want to play. They want to play a violent brand of football. And while he's soft-spoken and an incredibly intelligent guy, both of them really, and Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, I've been around them enough to know they want to hurt people. They want to go out there and they want to punish people. So I think you have the players that want to play that brand. And then I think all you'll have to do is, come whatever that cut-down day is, and they make their 53. If you see them keep Scott Matlock, Will Dissly, Tucker Fisk, if all those guys are on this team, and Raheem Sanders, who's 6 foot 330 undrafted free agent, if he's your fourth running back, I think it tells you they're not going to say it, they're going to show it, right? It's like, okay, well, we're the only team in the league that's got 2 blocking tight ends on our 53-man and a fullback. Matlock, and now he plays, all three phases, but you got Matlock, Tucker Fisk, and Will Dissly all on this team. I think that's really your indicator that, oh yeah, they're not just saying it. Look at their 53-man roster. They've got the roster to do it.
I also, you trust Harbaugh and you trust this staff, but the defense doesn't on paper look like a great defense. And they lose Joey Bosa, and I know Bosa wasn't Bosa of 5 years ago at this point, but he had 28 pressures, 13 QB hits. Poona Ford was a top run defender for them. Morgan Fox was gone, another big time interior lineman. Then you have Christian Fulton that gone from the secondary, Asante Samuel Jr. Is this the biggest concern that Chargers fans should have, that this defense goes from okay to good to potentially a major problem, and then the offense isn't really built to make up for that?
Well, I guess this is the way I would answer that is, last year they weren't good. They were exceptional. They were the number 1 scoring defense in the league at 17.7 points per game. And when they signed Poona Ford and they signed Christian Fulton and Morgan Fox came back, what did everybody say? They're like, well, they'll have an opportunity next year to maybe get the guys they really want. They have this cap situation with Bosa and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and and they don't have any money to spend, so they're bargain shopping. And all this staff did, Mike Elston is and I'll throw him out by name. I shouldn't, because I'd like to keep it as big of a secret, and we know the reach that Heath the Call has inside the buildings around the NFL. But Mike Elston, the D-line coach, Navarro Bowman, the linebacker coach, Steve Klinkscale, their secondary coach, their corner coach, and they lost Chris O'Leary last year, their safety coach, who really helped make Elijah Molden. He's now the DC at, I think, Western Michigan is where he went, so they brought in Adam Fuller, the former DC at Florida State. These guys get their hands on these players, and they made Poona Ford. He was not even getting playing time in Buffalo. He wasn't getting on the field, and they turned him into a $10 million a year player. So I think when you see the way they operate in free agency, I kind of talked about that shotgun approach. Christian Fulton was thought as a guy who couldn't stay healthy, and when he was on the field, he's okay. Clint gets his hands on him and he gets him a big contract in Kansas City. Well, this year it's Dante Jackson, a guy that's got a nose for the ball, that's had some issues tackling. They did it with 2 fifth-round picks last year in Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart. I think they got another one in an undrafted free agent, Nico Reed, who was just small coming out of Oregon, and people worried it's a press man corner who's at 5'9", 180. Is that going to work in the NFL? And he just sees it. Like, that's the thing about Jesse Minter. I still can't figure out what football world we're living in, that dude did not get a single interview to be a head coach in the NFL, and even more so in college. With what he did with that team last year, how much these players loved him, the career years, LeBron James, Derwin James, how dare I put that disgusting label on him.
Fair mistake in Los Angeles. But
Derwin James.
LA radio guy gets mad at LeBron.
Right. Derwin back to an all-pro level. Deion Henley should have been a Pro Bowler, and on and on and on. And I'll turn Elijah Molden into one of the better, free safeties out there. So, I think I guess the best way for me to answer that, Zeuser, is to say I trust Jesse Minter implicitly. Whatever he puts out there, I believe is going to work.
I have a personal question for you, because I would suggest that 99.9% of the people listening to this have never been tasked with announcing an NFL game. Like, is it hard? I once interviewed you about this, and you said that you do a radio Lakers game, I think, and like an old vet told you, like, oh, you're screwed if you've never done radio. But like, is it like just hard to do the job? Is it, or does it just come naturally to you?
Yeah, this is my 9th year, I think, doing it. So they came in 17, yeah. So this is my 9th year doing the Chargers, but I started doing football in 2010. So I've been doing it 15 years. So yeah, it comes naturally to me now. But originally, when I first started doing it, and I started with basketball, it was the Pac-12 tournament, Pac-10 tournament back then, and it was Barry Tompkins, the longtime vet, that was coming up to wish me luck, thinking I was doing TV. And when he goes, "Oh, you're doing radio?" And I said, "Yeah." And then he said, "Oh, you're effed," and walked away. Because radio, you feel the burden of painting a picture for the mind's eye.
Right.
You're not just along for the ride. You're providing the listener everything in the hopes that you can create an image detailed enough for them to see what's happening without seeing it. So I think you feel like you have to include everything, and you can't. It's just not possible in a 3 to 7 second play. So you have to figure out what you want to include, what you want to leave out, and I think that's the hardest thing, especially in basketball, which I still do. I still do college basketball on radio, which is a play-by-play sport. Football's an analyst sport, so all I want to do is get the call in and get the heck out so DJ, Daniel Jeremiah, can spin his magic, because that's what really, because football's hard to understand. There's 22 pieces moving at the same time, and he's got to be able to share, because he can see it like that. And it's the craziest thing to me that he sees what the guard was pulling, and he got picked up by a linebacker that was on a run fit, but somehow was able to get through, and that's what knocked that run off. And that's what I need to get to. So for me, it's all about economy of words, Can I say what I just saw and how happy I am that I just saw it? Freaking the Graver sucking on that robot D in his house.
Graver again.
I love it, dude.
No, listen,
I freaking
Money.
love it. That made this interview. Oh, I love it.
Do you know what's crazy,
that robot
Money?
D right there in your mouth and taking a pull made me so happy. I hope there's weed in there, Graver.
We're so used to that.
There is.
It happens all the time, and we've gotten used to it. But you know what he did last episode, and all the audience knows this because it was a major talking point. Really, the only thing people wanted to talk about after our last show. He takes a gigantic bite out of an open-faced sandwich in the backstage. And I'm like, Justin, we can see you. Mark's trying to make a point about the Jets quarterback room.
It's so good. And he did an open-faced sandwich, no less.
The YouTubers came to my defense like a flock of incredible supporters, just saying, let Justin eat. Justin deserves to eat. If Justin were to take a lunch break, the pod would be out 30 minutes later. It's like, it was
Host
great.
is making a rule. We're cool with the vape.
Yeah.
This is the ruling. Just if you're going to take a giant bite out of an open-faced turkey sandwich with egg white all over it, turn the camera off. Then turn it back
Take
on.
the bite.
That seems easy enough.
That feels like
the 8 of the show.
The compromise. You mentioned Jeremiah, by the way, Money. The ego on him, huh?
He's got. That's a battle that you two can fight. I don't find him. I find him to be humble. He's one of my best friends. We get to do football games together and travel now all over the world. We've been to England together. Now we're going to Brazil together. We've been to Mexico together. He got a horrible stomach parasite while down there that affected him for like 2 years. So I'm anxious to see the difference in how we each behave in Brazil. It'll be our first international trip since Mexico City. And you know me, guys. I am already planning my escape. And, finding my way out the back door. I've made a connection with a former pro surfer that's got a 4 or 8 unit Airbnb down on the beach that's like 2 hours away. And I'm like, we're landing. These people are not going to see me till Friday. And DJ's, I'm sure, like, where's the catering? How do I get my chicken and my rice and my, whereas I'm going to be out about the town for 3 days. So, yes, DJ's doing great. It's the best, man. He's such a great dude and such an incredible analyst. Right. It's been a lot of fun to do this with him. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Hey, any big picture AFC West thoughts? We're going to have Pete Sweeney, who does an awesome job covering the Chiefs, on in a few minutes. I mean, you watch the tape. You've been studying what's been happening with these teams in the offseason. You see them 2 times a year in person. Whether it's the Chiefs, the Raiders are obviously improved. The Broncos are the buzzy team. They're even getting a lot of internal hype on this program as potentially the team of HTC. What jumps out to you in this division?
I think you've hit it all. It's all of it. Look, the Chiefs. It's crazy to pick any team besides the Chiefs to win the division and really the AFC. That has been what the AFC has been for 6 years. Why would it be anything different? Patrick Mahomes is still operating at the highest level of any quarterback in the league when games are on the line and when games count. You can say that maybe with his surrounding weapons and current level of play that you can make a case that Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert are better on a down-in, down-out basis talent-wise, but the guy is just an assassin. He's got that quality to him, that Kobe Bryant level quality of I will not lose a game. And it's hard to overlook that. And they're still incredibly talented on defense. So it's, they're what everyone's trying to get. And until someone gets it, that's the standard. And you've got to figure out how to match it. The Broncos are really good. They are really good. I mean, defensively, they're deep. Sean Payton's, one of the best offensive coaches that we've seen in the last 30 years. So it's going to be a dogfight.
Speaking of egos.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
There's that. And I'd love to see, the humble pie. And it was great that the Chargers swept them last year. And I'd love to see them do the same. So I have nothing negative to say about either of those teams. I hate the Raiders. F them. The stupid Raider chant drives me crazy whenever we play in Vegas. It's one of the dumbest, most ignorant-sounding things I've ever heard in my life. And I don't... Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And you hear Pete, because I'm sure Pete feels the same way, like, oh, my God, am I really going to have to hear these idiots screaming, Raiders, every home game? I guarantee it drives him crazy. I can guarantee it. So, yeah, outside of that, I think it's a heck of a division.
Are you buying into the idea with the Raiders real quick that the Brady-Carroll combination can almost double their win total and he's a coach of the year type candidate? Or do you just hate them too much where you can't see them with clear eyes?
No, I think they still have issues. I think they have O-line issues. Look, Brock Bowers is exceptional. Jacoby Myers has been a really good receiver. I just think it might be a year, right? I have full faith that Ashton Genty's going to take the league by storm. He's that good of a back. You look defensively, you lose Christian Wilkins. I still don't know who their starting corners are going to be. I think there's some issues there, right? And I think you talk about Sean Payton with the Broncos, Justin Herbert with the Chargers, and obviously Patrick Mahomes. And it's like, okay, do they have enough pass rush? And do they have the secondary to match it? And I just think some of that stuff is going to be a little hard for them to line up here in year one. I certainly think they're better. I think Pete's a great coach, and I expect them to be better. I just don't know. And I think it's a lot of the stuff that people were saying about Harbaugh last year, right? It's like, yeah, he's a great coach, and we'll see. The cap situation's not great. Might it be a year 2 thing? I remember that's kind of what the narrative was, and Harbaugh just went out and won. So I could see Pete doing that. It's just when I look at their roster compared to the other 3 teams in this division, I think there's still maybe a little gap there. But between those three, the Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs, and the Raiders.
All right. How many teams make the playoffs out of the division?
I think 3.
All right.
I do. I think they're that good if you match them up with the rest of. Although I will say it's a really tough year schedule-wise. You know, when you got to pull the NFC East, and like the Chargers get hosed at the end of the year. The league does it to them every year. I don't know why, but they feel the need to. You got the Eagles on Monday night, and then you follow that up with a trip to Kansas City that's scheduled for 10 a.m. Pacific time right now. So it's like, oh, yeah, going to have you play the most physical team in the league on a Monday night, and then on a short week, we're going to fly you to Kansas City in December to take on the Chiefs in a 10 a.m. Pacific kick. It's the wildest thing every year somehow.
Well, that's your schedule, too, which is an annoyance, I'm sure.
Right. And Justin is scribbling that down because he's a burgeoning gambling addict, and that sounds like maybe a little connection there.
There you go.
Yes, Justin.
It's also the Chargers lose a home game the opening Friday night of the season because they have to play that in Brazil. And that's a big game against the Chiefs.
It's a division game. It's not ideal. At the same time, I think Harbaugh is the kind of guy that can, get the team like, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for us. This is not a challenge. This is a positive for us to drag these guys all the way down to Brazil. So he'll figure out a way to spin it. But yeah, it's a tough schedule for the AFC West for certain because it's a lot of travel.
Yeah, we talk about there's like 6 or 7 coaches who truly matter in the NFL. You can make a case that like maybe 3 are in this division alone. So it will be a lot of fun to watch. Now, before we go, I want to try maybe a new recurring segment. I don't know if everyone knows this, but Matt Money Smith, before he became a famous sports broadcaster, was very successful in the music industry. He was a high-ranking A&R executive for
promotion.
Oh, promotion executive.
Promotion in the record company, music director in radio.
Right, at world-famous K-Rock here in L.A., which is really the only station that matters in terms of breaking acts and things of that nature. Now, with that said, Money and I have talked music a lot. Sometimes he thinks some of my musical taste is a little off base. We've talked about the band.
I still have the photo saved.
Yes, he has a saved tweet where I listed the top 5 live songs of all time as an example.
Travis that's what people want, man.
Travis has taken some hits over the years. I would say that Selling the Drama might be the best live song, but that's not what we're talking about.
No.
A story today, Tales from the Music Industry with Matt Money Smith. Oasis is back. Right now they're conquering Europe. It's become a cultural moment. I've talked to Handsome Hank about that. I'm going to see them twice. I'm going to see them on the East Coast and on the West Coast here at the Rose Bowl. Do you have an Oasis story? We have a lot of international listeners, and of course there are a lot of Oasis fans here in America as well. Not as many, but many. Any great Oasis story from your past?
I do, yeah. So for a while, I was working on both sides of the fence. When I was in college, I worked for the morning show on K-Rock, and then they recognized, hey, why don't we put a 19-year-old in the music department? He knows what's going on in music, and he can share with us kind of like what's happening in college that might, kind of go off our radar. So I was also working at London Records. So when I graduated, I got a job full-time at London Records as a record promoter. And I was still being invited to the music meeting, though. So it was kind of weird. Like they were like, who's this label guy that gets to go to all the music meetings at K-Rock? This isn't kosher. It's like insider trading. Oasis hit American alternative rock radio at the exact same time as, even though they had already been, they'd been a band for a long time, but I can't remember what label. I think Blur was on Columbia. Epic had Oasis, and it was this big
Creation Records, I believe they came out with. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was, but in America, I mean, who was licensing them? The record label of America that had the rights to them. And then Pulp was on Island. So you had Pulp Common People, you had Blur Boys and Girls, and you had Oasis Supersonic, all at the exact same time. It all hit, and I remember being in the music meeting and hearing Supersonic and being like, holy S, this is like, it was one listen, and just blew and then we actually ended up tracking the record. And when we heard Live Forever, we're like, this is going to be the biggest song of the year, like off one listen. So that's Oasis. Blur was Blur. I knew Blur. You know, I worked college radio, so I was very familiar with Blur, and I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna play this. And then Pulp, I loved Common People. It's still one of my all-time favorite songs. But I was like, eh. And at London, here we go, London Records, Little London Records. London / Mowax. I'm working DJ Shadow Records, and I'm working Steel Pole Bathtub, and I'm working Drugstore and the Tinder Sticks and all these bands I'm trying to get played, and I can't get a sniff on anything. It's not true. We had Portishead, which was pretty sweet, so we had worked the Sour Times record, which ended up going to number 1. Just pat myself on the back. But London's got a band, and here we go, and we're in this British Invasion music meeting. And the guy who runs K-Rock, Kevin Weatherly, and he's like, all right, what else we got? I'm like, hey, K-Dub, if you don't mind, man, we got something at London. They are exploding in the UK right now, and we just did the deal, the licensing deal, and it's this band called Menswear, and the song is called Daydreamer. And since this is the British Invasion, here we go. Let's pop this baby in, and you have not heard the best of the British Invasion yet. Here we hit Daydreamer. It's playing. Everybody's listening. And end of the song, he turns around and ejects the CD, and he goes, "This sucks." Oh! I was like, oh. And so that Tuesday, I believe they added Common People because they had a very good relationship with Island. And so they did the K-Rock announces the new British Invasion. I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit. I believe they did add Menswear for me, and they just played it like overnight. So they added all 4 records in the same week. They added Supersonic, Boys and Girls, Common People, and Daydreamer. The other 3 went into like power rotation, and Little Menswear was played like between midnight and 3 a.m. Every other day. And so my boss at London Records was like, "The hell, dude. The Common People's working. Blur is going to number 5, and Supersonic's at number 1, and you've got 4 spins between midnight and 3 a.m. What are we doing here?" So that was
a little bit of ego death.
Yeah, that was my recollection of the arrival of Oasis to the States, and I remember it vividly because it was music that I loved, and it was a seminal moment during an era of Korn. And I don't know if the Korn stuff was going yet. I don't.
This was 94. This would have been 94 when all this stuff was going down. Korn, I think, was a little bit after, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was a little bit after that, if I remember right. Yeah, so that's
I love it.
Oasis
I could listen to Money tell these stories forever. Money's been on our throwback pod with Bob twice, and they're like the most popular episodes we've ever done. And I will.
Well, wait, I was on that show, so I don't rank in the upper echelon there. Okay.
I mean, speaking of ego death, I will be checking out Menswear Daydreamer after the show, and everybody else should too. And maybe let's give our own assessment of whether it deserved the pop
Did it
that
deserve
Money
better?
Pushed.
Did it deserve better? That's the question.
Money, thank you so much, buddy. You are the man. We love you. We love you.
I love being here, guys.
Thank you, Money.
Absolutely love it. Graver keeps sucking on that robot D, dude. That was awesome.
Thanks, Money. There he goes, Matt Money Smith. We love that guy. And we are just getting warmed up here because going right from Money to another total stud. He's the editor-in-chief of Arrowhead Pride, the author of A Dynasty Begins, and he's been covering the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning AFC champions, for the past 11 years. Pete Sweeney, welcome back to Heed the Call.
Good to be back. It's that time of year where we're actually starting to see some things, so it's exciting.
Yeah, Mark, it only now am I realizing that the last time we were in Pete's orbit, it was in New Orleans. He came to the Heat House.
Right.
It was a more innocent time. We even shot some B-roll of Pete entering the Heat House and did a nice seg with Pete. And then after the game, Pete was nice enough to jump on. And just the dichotomy of those two was like the before the apocalypse and after the apocalypse. The state of the Chiefs after obviously a very humbling night there in New Orleans in February.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of disappointed fans here. I know that right now there's often these comparisons to the New England Patriots and what they did and how hungry that like their fans were. And I think especially in the immediate aftermath, there was this feeling in Kansas City that the year was a complete failure. And it's like, this team went to 3 Super Bowls in a row.
That's what happens. That's what happens.
Had a really
take it from a Yankee fan. That's what happens, and that makes it very difficult to be a fan at a certain point. Nobody will feel sorry for you, but it changes your chemistry and it fucks you up.
Yeah, it's almost all or nothing at this point. And right, like this is a team that won 17 games with a lot of injuries, a lot of adversity. The patchwork offensive line, very clearly in that final game, you just knew it wasn't going to cut it. And I think much like the Tampa Bay Bucks disaster, I think there were some parallels there. And right after that Super Bowl, you really saw the front office say, we have to fix this. And I think you have seen a similar sentiment to that in this offseason's moves that the Chiefs have made.
When you look at a team like the Kansas City that has played, on average 3 to 4 more games than any other team year after year. And I think that Andy Reid, it seems like he's found a way with each training camp to make it new again, to get the thing started again in a way where it's like there's not the hangover, there's not the exhaustion of doing so much more and doing it all over again. Like, do you sense that this training camp that Andy Reid, the whole team has found, like, are they renewed? Are they ready to go? Is there any psychological weight here, or is it fresh and new?
I think it's a little bit of a cop-out answer, but I think it's a little bit of both, right? I think this is still a team that has had a lot of success, but there is a tinge of a different feel, and a lot of media members will ask every player and even to the coaching staff similar questions at the podium of like, how did that night drive you? And for Mahomes, he's just a freak. And so I think he'll be just as motivated if they had won 3 in a row, like, because I think he would have been, no, I want 4, and I think that is something that leads into the rest of the players. But you just saw in the GQ article with Travis Kelce, he was open and admitting maybe some of those off the field movie stuff, relationship, attention, celebrity, maybe it did draw me back a little bit. And he certainly is somebody who really feels reignited. I know there was a report that he lost 25 pounds. It wasn't 25 pounds, but he certainly slimmed down and I think does look better. And you could see that Andy Reid is managing his snaps. And just to the greater picture of what you were talking about, all these games, all these extra games that they played, I've been fortunate to cover the Chiefs in a really great time. I mean, I've covered an additional season and change in playoff games. So like Dan mentioned, I covered 11 years, really it's 12 seasons of games, and that wears on players after enough years and you have enough of these returners. And for example, one slight change that they made earlier in the camp, and then I'll give you one today, earlier in camp, they decided to just blow by rookie and quarterback week. Came a week later. They could have started earlier because they got the Friday game in Brazil and they didn't. And then today we found out they were going to rest starters. The primary star players looks like Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, maybe Nick Bolton, Chris Jones in this second game, and maybe give them a little bit more in the third game. And so I think that is something that Andy Reid acknowledges. He adjusts in terms of scheduling and playing time and whatnot. And then from an emotional standpoint, you didn't win. I know that, again, my first point was that they've had all the success and the fans are unsatisfied. But even the players, I think, realize how special of a time this is, and it is all or nothing for them. And I think there has been some of that drive within training camp.
Yeah, I knew the Chiefs were screwed the second I saw the Mecole Hardman cameo and Holiday touchdown. I said, this is just going to be a problem.
We've got problems.
And then if we're talking about if they didn't win last year and Travis Kelce became one of the least down-to-down, least productive tight ends in football, and he did that because he was in fucking Happy Gilmore 2? What a waste! At least be in a top film. But that's save it for the Happy Gilmore 2 review. Seriously though, bits aside, because you're a serious man. You deserve
that. Yeah.
You deserve the respect of a serious man. No, Mahomes, we talked about it, and you helped us out because I hit you up on text earlier this week. How Josh Simmons, how much is riding on him becoming that lockdown left tackle? You talked about the LTSD that has seized this organization. Good stats from the FTN Football Almanac. In 2024, Mahomes was under pressure 34.5% of his dropbacks. That is 34th out of 39 passers in 24, and it has been a bigger and bigger issue. And then here's the big one, because of all the things, I believe, even though by certain metrics, the Chiefs are one of the luckier, if not the luckiest team ever in terms of actual win total to what the Pythagorean theorem said they should have won, even above that Vikings team from a couple years ago. I still just believe that they're always going to find their way to the playoffs, and then they're always dangerous. That said, the one thing that could change everything is the thing that they've been able to avoid, the catastrophic Mahomes injury, okay? But Mahomes led the league last year with 80 quarterback hits, okay? That's not including sacks. After 83 quarterback hits in 2023, it's a ticking time bomb. It really is. And it's just, they've been extraordinarily lucky. I know he's played through so many injuries through the years, and he's a warrior. But if they don't get this thing figured out, none of it's going to matter. And it is also attached to this setup with they can't be explosive on offense if they can't give the guy time. So the offensive line, is that the key to unlocking this offense again? Or is there more to it than that?
Yeah. Well, real quick, Hollywood touchdown, C-, Cappy Gilmore 2, B+. That's most important. Second, LTSD is real. I joked about it with you in the text, kind of a joke on PTSD. Should we be joking about that? I don't know. But,
on this show we can. Yes.
Yeah, Chiefs fans are sick of really the rotating left tackle. I mean, they haven't really had a consistent left tackle since the days of Eric Fisher, the Big Fish, and I think that's been a long time. And I think they've been seeking it. I think they've been wanting to find a way to get somebody here. People don't really remember this probably nationally, but they were in on Trent Williams when Trent Williams was going through free agency, and they really wanted to try to get him. He ends up staying with the 49ers, and they, I think, eventually would go with Orlando Brown. And that was surprising that the Ravens kind of helped them out. And I think that was an average to a slightly above average answer for a little while. Couldn't really figure out a contract with him. He ends up going to Cincinnati. And then you were kind of rotating, and eventually you had to put a left guard at left tackle. And Joe Thuney is fantastic, all pro. I think some people think that he could be an all Hall of Famer potentially at the guard position. Wasn't going to cut it against that front that was the Eagles. And so here you have a scenario where an injury helped the Chiefs significantly. If Josh Simmons does not get injured in October, there is no way the Chiefs even sniff him, because they're not a team that wants to trade their pick. I mean, they did with Mahomes, but that's an outlier, obviously. They're not going to want to trade up so high of where Simmons would have went had he been healthy. And so they even admitted it, like in more or less words that, than coming out and saying it. They were like, kind of a blessing that he got injured, and he fell and he fell and he fell, and they were even able to get a small trade back with the Eagles to get a 5th rounder, which helped out. And I think there was a general consensus among NFL decision makers where they were worried about whether Simmons would be able to play period in 2025 and be okay. And what has broken the Chiefs' way is apparently as soon as he suffered the injury in October, he started working, rehab. He mentioned 2-a-days, and even when OTAs broke, he stayed in Kansas City rather than going to California, where he's from, or going to Ohio State to train in his college town. He stayed with the trainers and just ultra determined to be healthy. And as it turned out, and it was crazy to see, but the first week of training camp, Jawan Taylor's on the PUP, the right tackle, with a knee cleanup in his recovery, and Josh Simmons is fully healthy. And Josh Simmons, we just finished up camp an hour ago. Josh Simmons did not miss a snap of left tackle at training camp. So I do have to imagine that there's a lot of NFL decision makers that are looking at this and saying, did we miss something here with our trainers or our evaluation? Again, it could all change in the matter of a minute. That's the NFL. But so far, so good. And he looks the part. I have more concerns, quite honestly, with the left guard position. You trade away Joe Thuney. You put all your stock into Kingsley Suamataia, the second-year player out of BYU, who was a complete failure at left tackle. I don't think anyone is hiding away from that fact. And he's gotten most of the snaps at left tackle. They did bring in Jalen Moore, who was Trent Williams' backup, and he's rotated in a little bit at left guard, mostly rotating at right tackle with Taylor. I think they kind of see him as a jack-of-all-trades guy who can swing maybe inside, outside. But again, for me, Simmons looks good. As long as he's healthy, they might have solved it for the next decade or so if they can keep this player in the building. I honestly have more concerns at the left guard position, and offensive lines are so important when it comes to cohesion in the NFL. One guy could kind of mess up everything for everybody. And so in the second game, it doesn't look like Mahomes is going to play, but I think the first team offensive line is going to play on Friday night, 9 p.m. local time, terrible time. But I'm going to be watching Kingsley Suamataia. I think that's of greater concern.
You mentioned the next decade and that Simmons could be there. A quick one on Andy Reid. How long does he do this? He's in a great spot with a great team that could win more Super Bowls. Is he just a lifer? Do we have another decade of him, or is there any roadmap of when he might hang it up?
I think as long as he can keep going and feel healthy about it, he'll stay there. I mean, I just think Donovan McNabb was one thing. Michael Vick, right? Alex Smith. I've said this often in Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes is his creative player in Madden. I mean, I know it took 20 years to find him, but he found him. And I often remind people this too. I think Andy Reid and my nemesis Florio is a proponent of this, where he always brings up him retiring. But Belichick, I know he's coaching UNC, is 6 years older than Andy Reid. No one's ever like, when's Bill Belichick hanging up? Right. Pete Carroll is ancient. He's an ancient man. He's an ancient man. Now he's in division, and I believe he's 8 years older than Andy Reid. So I just think it's that, again, physical appearance. He's a heavyset guy. He might look a little older / unhealthier, for lack of better words, and I think that's driven into it. But as long as he feels good, I think he's going to try to ride this out. And I do think, again, hidden in this, if you want to talk about coaching, and some Chiefs fans hate when I say this, I do think they have a little bit of a McDaniel thing going on, where Andy Reid is like remolding Matt Nagy to be that guy. But I think Andy Reid wants to stay and continue doing it for as long as he can. Like, these guys never really say it directly. I'm talking about Reid and Mahomes now. But Reid won 6 and Mahomes won 7. And I know it's like, oh, you're just going to say they're going to win championships. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but I think it really is truly a goal in their mind. And that's why you see Mahomes just devastated when he loses that swing match to Brady, or, couldn't do anything in this last Super Bowl, because these opportunities are fleeting, right? The AFC is good. I think all of the top quarterbacks really in the league, or most of them, are in the AFC. And so it's a tough ask, but I think these guys have that like sky high aspirations.
The last one I got is the wide receiver room. And I know there is general optimism, I feel like, in the greater discourse that, okay, Rashee Rice was really breaking out in year 2 before the knee injury, and he's back, even though he's got, the suspension. Xavier Worthy, a little bit of a mixed bag, but he flashed more in the playoffs, although some of the numbers, the pop the hood numbers, are skewed in the playoffs because he did some real damage in garbage time in the Super Bowl. But still, there's ability there, but we didn't see it enough in year 1. Hollywood Brown, obviously last year was kind of a mess with the summertime injury. When you take that wide receiver room and you take what's left of Travis Kelce, and I'm setting aside all the summer trope stuff around Kelce, because I think once a tight end gets at this age, when he's showing this many signs of decline, I'm just not going to buy into some type of magical bounce back. I know he's a Hall of Fame player, but that's just where I'm at. I just don't see it. I don't see, even if the offensive line does improve, I still see this as a team that's going to underwhelm offensively. Is there a path to that not being the case, that they're going to be more exciting than they have been in past years?
Yeah, I mean, before you get to the wide receiver room, I don't have to get back into the details because we already kind of talked about it. I think there's an understanding or an expectation that the protection is going to be better. And if Mahomes has protection, then I think it kind of opens everything up. Now, with the wide receivers, I think on the night that Hollywood Brown, is signed and you're able to get Xavier Worthy, I think there's a lot of people that are looking at this wide receiver trio, talking about Rashee Rice, Worthy, and Brown, and being like, man, this could be another coming of the Bengals trio that we saw with Tyler Boyd. That was, that third man within that. And if we're being honest, though, like, is this trio ever going to get on the field together? Because you look at last year.
They didn't play one snap together last year.
Yeah, you look at last year, and you're like, well, Worthy, he's smaller size. This rookie, is he going to be able to hold up in the NFL? He's the only receiver of the trio that was able to play most of the games, right? Rashee Rice goes down in week 3 with that freak injury where Mahomes barreled into him. Hollywood Brown had a freak injury to his shoulder in the preseason. He was never able to get going. And so now you enter a scenario where Hollywood has been out the last 10 days dealing with an ankle injury. It supposedly is not a high ankle, which is good. So I think they're probably eyeing maybe the last week of the preseason if he can get in for a snap. Probably more likely the first time you see him again is week 1 on Friday night. But, at that time, even if you have Brown and Worthy, Rice isn't expected to be there. And then you're thinking, well, all right, let's just assume it's 6 games because it was the disaster on film. Is Hollywood Brown going to be healthy by the time week 7 rolls around? Like, I don't know if this trio is ever going to play together. The good news is, and I feel pretty good about saying this, I think the team feels, and I could kind of see it, where Xavier Worthy has a much better understanding right now than he did last year. And that's going to happen with any rookie. And he looked really good down the stretch. And one thing that Andy Reid told me at the Combine, told a group of the reporters to decide with the writers, was they were very pleasantly surprised about Worthy being an all-around receiver versus maybe just one of these speed guys that you use the word gadgety sometimes. But again, as you're mentioning, Travis Kelce is really old now, probably in the twilight here of his last year. And you need at least 2 of these guys to be available to you. And it has been a disaster in a sense of getting them all on the field at the same time. Now, if the protection is there, I think Mahomes can look good with anyone. You've seen some of these names pop here in training camp, and Tyquan Thornton and Jason Brownlee are reemerging. And Thornton has been a pleasant surprise, a second rounder, really in camp. If you're looking for a dark horse, you still have Juju Smith-Schuster. Somehow he's still under 30. It doesn't seem like possible, but he is.
No, I don't buy into that narrative anymore. I don't believe that. He's 37 years old. For him still to be under 30, Pete, that means he had to come into the league at 12. And I just don't think that happened.
He played with Jerome Bettis his first year. And then Jalen Royals. Royals is a player who they kind of think is Rashee Rice light. I mean, I'll buy it when I see it. This is still a rookie. Andy Reid's playbook is complex, but there are some answers. But it has been frustrating kind of seeing what they're trying to blueprint up, and it, just never, for different types of reasons, being able to come to fruition.
All right, and Pete Sweeney, you could check him out on Arrowhead Pride. We closed our money conversation with a little music talk. I guess I'll do it with you too. Life of a Showgirl, the new Taylor Swift release is coming out. It was teased on the Kelsey podcast, The Heights. I mean, Arrowhead Pride, where is the line drawn in terms of coverage of an event like this, of this stature?
Well, Pete Sweeney is a friend of the Swifties. I noticed when Travis Kelce spoke, it was on day 13 of training camp in year 13, so I made sure to highlight that for my girls and guys.
There we go.
I suppose. And we'll check out the podcast tonight. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of nugs that we'll want to cover. SEO is king, and I'm not going to shy away from the clicks where I can get them.
That's
honest answer.
Total coverage of the Chiefs.
I do have one
in all
grievance.
aspects.
I do have one grievance to bring up, and this was a tough moment for me in the summer. Mark,
did Justin take a bite out of a sandwich or smoke something that distracted you during the segment? Is that what it was?
No, Mark during the summer somehow said he was in Missouri, so I broke away from the group text and I said, "Look, man, the next time you're in Missouri, hit me up. I'll bring you to the coolest dive bar I know." Radio silence, big league.
Sessler.
That's a terrible job by me.
God.
I was like in deep Missouri though.
Okay,
I mean,
that makes sense.
like deep woods where like the house that I was at, you couldn't even see the house next door. So it was that kind of
yeah, but come on. I mean, they have cell phone towers still, I would think, in around that area. Like you probably came back into a coverage zone. Pete's a friend of the show, and that when you break off the group chat like that, that's Pete putting himself out there a little bit. So to be left unread, was it read? Do we even know if he ever saw it, Pete? Let's be real.
I'm sure.
Did he see it? That would be even worse.
I'm sure what he will say is he never got it, but it was just a devastating moment for me. And
no, that's a tough one.
So the
it's
silence,
a bad look for the whole operation.
Silence is deafening.
No, I feel devastated by my. It was not intentional, but by the results there on my part, and so I take
the next
full
time you're around the
accountability
area,
for.
we'll go to Kelly's Westport Inn. So just keep that in mind.
I mean, I'd go back there this week to do that. So it's like,
no, that's
yes,
talk. That's just
my
a lot of talk
intentions
from
are
Sessler.
good.
A lot of talk now. After there's the
anyway.
realities and there's talk. You have to prove it to Pete now. You have to break off the text chain.
I do.
Actions speak louder than
and
words.
I will.
Really. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They do, and I will act.
Pete Sweeney, Arrowhead Pride, you are the man. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there he goes. Pete Sweeney, Arrowhead Pride. Love that guy. What did we learn today? We learned the AFC West is going to be spicy. Like, we knew that, but I just feel, Mark, that we're more educated on the topic now.
I mean, I think it's why we picked this division to kind of zone in on, and it's the spiciest division in the conference, but I'd say even in the NFL. And I don't know, talking to Money and Pete, and they're like going to these games, I kind of made me want to get back out on the road and go to games ourselves. Except the tickets are very expensive for us because we don't have credentials in. So
that's fair. That's fair, Mark. And I kind of feel like I shorted the head coaches in the division. I think I said to Money that 3 of the 4 coaches are on the list of the 6 or 7 guys who matter. It could be a clean sweep. I mean, you have Jim Harbaugh, you have Sean Payton, you have Pete Carroll, and Andy Reid.
Like, who wouldn't it be? It would be 4.
Well, I don't know if I agree with Money that 3 teams come out of that division, because it feels like it's probably a fairly uncommon for that to happen 2 years in a row. Although I don't have the data to back that up, but Justin will spend the next 6 hours digging in on that. Thank you, Justin. But it's certainly possible, because you can make a case for really even the Raiders, and Raiders fans out there that probably say we're kind of overlooked. There is a lot of room for that team to jump up with a replacement level or higher quarterback and a head coach with a pedigree to sniff around 9 or 10 wins if the ball bounces their way. So very interesting division. Justin, that is 2 shows in a row that either the hosts or the guests have clocked you doing something. And again, this is now just private talk with me, Mark, you, and the audience.
Right.
You have to understand, just because you're not on camera for the audience come YouTube, it doesn't mean the people on the show can't see you. We always are seeing you. So,
right. I apologize for being a distraction. Never want to be a distraction. We want to eliminate all locker room distractions here. But
is Justin a locker room lawyer? Is that what's happened here, Mark?
I think he stunned our guest today, and that's not the first thing you're looking for.
It's true, because we're used to our producer taking a wicked huge rip from something that appears
toking
to
up
be
nonstop during the show,
like a bowl or some type of vape pen. We're just used to it, but I have to understand that that's not going to be necessarily the case for someone who's not regularly on the program.
Right. Yes, I'll be more conscious of that going forward. And again, my deepest apologies to Matt Money Smith, to the 2 of you, and most of all to our wonderful hedonists out there.
You were generally better behaved during the Pete Q&A, so that progress.
Lessons learned.
I mean, Mark, we kind of run our own small business, and it's just part of it is just putting out fires all the time, and this is just the latest one.
This is the latest fire. And I do appreciate Justin kicking on to the broadcast itself to suggest that almost all the listeners back him and want him to eat, as you discussed, an open-faced sandwich. Like, even if they did, that's not the point we're trying to drive home with Justin.
Right. It's almost like he's like, sorry that you were offended or whatever, that type of apology. Like, well, I have the court of public opinion on my side, so, eat. You can eat as well. Eat shit. Like, that's how that kind of felt to Mark and I a little bit.
It did.
So, but that's okay. That's okay.
It's like
We
one of
still
those
love you.
things where you get in trouble, but then everyone thinks you're really cool. So you're like, maybe I should get in trouble more.
That's fair too. And you're also maybe that because you're such a great and important part of our show that you know it, and now you're testing boundaries. You're like, what can I get away with?
All right. What are you going to do? Fire me? Good luck.
All right, that's it. Fun show. We'll be back in just 24 hours or so with Dave Damashek, one of our favorite episodes of the year. Over-under predictions. We each make 4 picks. Will Sessler get off the schneid in 25? We'll find out. Till then, heed the call.